Look around. The solid architecture, the passing crowds, the weight of the phone in your hand. Evidence of your senses insists this environment exists independent of you. But consider the possibility that the physical world requires your consciousness to construct it. In 10th century Kashmir, an anonymous philosopher composed a massive, highly detailed text known as the Mokṣopāya, a work later redacted and popularized as the Yoga Vāsiṣṭha. The text pushes past standard philosophical idealism. It argues that the physical universe, despite feeling dense and solid, has no objective reality. The condition of the world is defined as absolute non-existence. The architecture we experience is purely mental. To explain the mechanics of this, the Mokṣopāya, along with later texts like the Tripura Rahasya, points to a daily phenomenon, the dream state. The text argues that waking life and dreaming are mechanically identical. In dreams, time passes in sequence. You form relationships evoking genuine emotion. The ground beneath feels perfectly firm, and objects possess weight and texture. The distinction is simply persistence. The waking universe appears continuous due to the sheer force of long-term cognitive habituation by the mind. If both states rely on the same mechanisms of perception and emotion and feel indistinguishable from the inside, we lack empirical proof that our daily lives are anything other than a highly detailed, prolonged dream. The baseline is pure, absolute consciousness, Citta. It acts as an infinite, empty spatial container, Citta. Within this awareness, an internal vibration, a spanda, spontaneously arises. Perceiving its own vibration, consciousness collapses into a bounded, individualized node, the localized mind, or Citta. Everything we perceive as the physical universe is emitted from this localized mind. The world is a Saṃkalpa, a conceptual projection or imagination. Think of a vast ocean. The waves rising and falling on its surface appear to have distinct temporary forms, but they are entirely composed of the water itself. The universe is an illusion of form, made entirely of consciousness. These projections feel dense and independent because of vasana, deep-seated habits and latent conditioning, combined with avidya, a basic ignorance of the true nature of reality. What you experience as a hard physical table or a stone wall is essentially your own mind's vibration, trapped in an endless feedback loop of habit and desire. Erasing the physical universe places the Mokṣopāya in a highly isolated position among classical Indian philosophies. In classical Advaita Vedanta, the world is often explained as a misperception. A common analogy is mistaking a rope in the dark for a snake. The snake is an illusion, but the real rope remains. The Mokṣopāya rejects this. There is no rope. The world has no material basis. It is a logical impossibility, a city floating in the empty sky. It also parts ways with neighboring traditions like Kashmir Shaivism. While Shaivism argues the world is real because it is the intentional projection of a real divine creator, the Mokṣopāya insists on absolute material non-existence. Its structure closely mirrors the all-is-mind framework of Buddhist Yogacara, yet the Mokṣopāya frames its teachings in Brahmanical terms, grounding this illusion in a self-luminous consciousness. Looking at this passage from the text, it describes the universe explicitly as Brahman's dream city. It notes that trying to figure out what is materially possible or impossible is meaningless because the rules of physics do not apply to a dream. Discarding both a physical substrate and a tangible divine creation, the text leaves us with a reality constructed entirely out of a baseless mental void. Liberation, or moksha, is defined as the total abandonment of mental conditioning. It is a state of internal mastery reached while one continues to function in the world. This means actively dismantling those deep-seated habits, the vasanas. When you stop reacting to the illusion with desire or aversion, the mechanism that sustains the physical mirage begins to lose power. The text often uses the analogy of a clay pot. The space inside the pot seems separate and contained, but when the pot shatters, the inner space is revealed to have always been identical to the infinite space outside. A liberated person continues to walk, speak, and fulfill duties in the waking world, but their conditioning has been scrubbed clean, transformed into pure sattva. They engage with the mirage while fully understanding it is a projection. A universe projected entirely by the mind functions according to a different set of logic. If our daily life operates exactly like a dream sequence, the strict rules applied to time, distance, and physical boundaries look like suggestions rather than laws. The text explains that because consciousness is an infinite space, or Citta, it can contain multiple imaginative worlds simultaneously, like independent dreams coexisting in the same container without ever touching. If reality has no material cause and exists only as a mental experience, then the constraints of time and distance become malleable, subject entirely to the mind's perception.